Welcome to the Transparent FX Academy. In this video, I'll speak about AUDUSD. And as usual, to keep the video as educational as possible, first I'll cover the technical aspect for this market. Then we will be moving to the commitment of traders, so the COT data, which is what the big players and institutions are doing and how they're moving and shifting their orders, which is what you see right here. And by the end of the video, by putting together these two different types of analysis, we will try to understand where we have the highest probabilities for the next potential move here for this pair. So this is definitely a video you do not want to miss. So without further ado, let's jump straight onto the charts. Starting here from the monthly time frame, what we can see is that we have a market which at the moment is testing a quite strong historical monthly demand and support zone. In fact, what we know is that from here, multiple rejections to the upside have been created. Every time the market was testing this zone, it was rejecting it to the upside quite aggressively. And we see how that was happening over and over again. And every time the market was testing this zone, very strong institutional buying was happening, and we will see that when we look at the commitment of traders for AUDUSD, which is what institutions and the big players in the market are doing and how they're moving their orders. But for now, we have to keep in mind that once more the market has tested that exact same level of historical demand and support, and the market is currently rejecting the level to the upside. Dropping down on the weekly time frame, what do we see? Now here in the weekly, the structure and price action of the market is quite clear. What we can notice is that the market went from the creation of weekly lower lows and lower highs, so the market was in a bearish trend with bearish structure, to now the creation of weekly higher highs and higher lows. So what we had here is a perfect inversion of trend from a weekly bearish market back to a weekly bullish market. And in a situation like this, more bullish price action could be expected away from this strong weekly support zone. Now, why do I say a strong weekly support zone? Because if we look closely, what we can see is that this area was acting as previous weekly resistance from which all these previous rejections to the downside were created. Then the market broke above that zone with this impulse to the upside. And as we know in the market, previous resistance, once it is broken to the upside, becomes support. And the market has already retested this level in multiple occasions, has respected it as support and demand, and is currently in the process of rejecting once more this previous level of weekly resistance, now turned support to the upside. So here in the weekly as well, everything looks quite clear. Let's drop down on the daily time frame and see what we have. Now, here in the daily, already the price action appears much clearer. In fact, what we can notice is a series of daily higher highs and higher lows, and the last push to the upside was a strong impulse. Now, in this impulse to the upside, there is one structure level which clearly got broken. This zone was the previous level of supply and resistance from which these two rejections to the downside were created. Now the market has broken above that zone. So this previous resistance is now turned support. And if the market will go and test this level, there is a good probability, in my opinion, to see good institutional buying inside of this zone, which at that point could further increase the probabilities of a potential rejection to the upside away from this level. Now, speaking about institutional buying, if we go and see what we have when it comes to the commitment of traders, so what the big players in the market are doing, and we look at the data for the AUD, the first thing that we have to keep in mind is that if we are looking at the data for the AUD, we are actually already looking at AUDUSD because all currencies on the spot are traded against the USD. And what we can see here is that with the last reports, net positions have been increased. We went from minus 100.5k net positions up to minus 82.6k net positions. So we had a clear increase of the net positioning, with institutions closing 16,900 shorts and adding almost 1,000 longs on the AUD, therefore on AUDUSD. We can see that longs went from the low here at 21K up to 29K. Shorts got decreased from 129K down to 112K. So AUDUSD has been getting stronger. So let's keep that in mind and move back to the chart. And by the way, if you still haven't, make sure that you join my free Telegram channel, which you find linked in description, so you never miss new updates. Now back to the analysis. So if the market will go back here and retest this demand and support zone with increased institutional longing, what would I expect? Well, as my students know very well, trading is reactive and not predictive. The monthly, weekly, and daily timeframes combined with the COT data, those are the best timeframes when it comes to the directional aspect of the market. However, when it comes to identifying early shifts in the trend of a market, the best timeframes for that are the intraday timeframes, so 4 hour and lower. Therefore, what I would expect is that if this market would shift from an intraday bearish to bullish market, I wouldn't be surprised to see a potential rejection to the upside away from this level for the market to complete this daily impulse correction and impulse pattern to the upside. That definitely wouldn't surprise me. Now, all this free education and analysis that you see me share here on YouTube is actually just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, if you want to learn more, I really suggest that you go over to the Transparent FX Trading website, which you find linked in the description. And here you will have the possibility to gain access to all my courses, which range from the very basics of trading to the more advanced topics like building automated trading systems, building a portfolio of strategies, uncorrelated strategies, and much, much more using quantitative finance tools like the Quant Analyzer. So it's really something that you cannot afford to miss. You also have the possibility to gain access to my trading station software with the Telegram notifications integrations, one-on-one mentoring directly with me for any questions you have along the way, the COT data software, which you often see me use here on my YouTube videos. The program is also an all-in-one program, so you gain access to everything immediately, including all my strategies and EAs, and you also gain access to my entertaining trading show in which I share all my trades as they're happening. Here, you will see the presentation of each and every one of my strategies with the full historical backtest and presentations of the rules of the strategy. You also, as we were speaking about, have access to the live trading show. So essentially, every trade that is taken on my live account is automatically shown here in a very entertaining fashion as they're happening. So opened, closed, managed, so you can learn even more. And as you scroll down, you will see that you have the possibility to join and gain automatically access with email and password that you will create during the registration process. So again, I really suggest you go and check it out. The link is in the description, and I will see you on your student dashboard. If you enjoyed the video, make sure that you click on the like button to support the channel. Also, any questions you might have, let me know in the comments below. Also, new pairs that you would like me to cover in my next videos. Make sure to also subscribe to the channel so you never miss new updates, and I will see you in my next video.